I think many of us saw this coming. Government undermines parents' rights. Okay, so what am I talking about? Why would I say something like this? Because, ladies and gentlemen, the government has decided that minors, or what they refer to as, quote, mature minors, don't need consent from their parents to participate in what the federal health minister referred to as the world's largest clinical trial.
The world is engaged in the largest clinical trial, the largest global vaccination trial ever.
Now, I always play that for reference so that if somebody from the mainstream media, like that person Dudley Nicholson, seeks to take me out of context, we have the clip of Greg Hunt. He's the health minister. He said it. Those are not my words. Those are the words of Greg Hunt. So what has the government done? They've said that they believe that certain people under the age of 18 are smart and mature and they should be able to make your own choice, while simultaneously pushing a strong vaccination campaign aimed at, well, different demographics, but including young people. Who here has seen the show, the broadcast featured on the ABC, designed to encourage young people to go out and get the jab? Okay, so we're going to have a bit of a talk about this. So I'm going to open up the browser right here, and I'm going to show you what the government is saying in relation to mature minors, and then we're going to look at some documentation. And I've got a fair bit to show you here. We also will feature a concerned parent on the show as well. So let's just open up the browser. Alrighty, where's the browser gone? Just give me 1 second. 1 second. And whoop, here we are. Alright, just let's see. Okay. Sorry, give me a second. Alright, that is what we need. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, where are we? health.vic.gov.au. Okay, so this isn't just some website that fell out of the sky. This is an official Victorian government website, and I dare say that similar text that is featured on this website would be featured on government websites all around the world. If you're not from Victoria, if you're from somewhere else, please put in the comments if what I read in this document sounds all but too familiar in your neck of the woods. All right, so what do we have here? What do we have? health.vic.gov.au. Let's have a look down the page. Consent for vaccination. All right, here's what we need to know. Well, here's what they're saying. Parent/guardian consent. Children and young people under 18 generally require parent/guardian consent to be vaccinated. Key word, generally. The usual mode for consent in the secondary school immunisation program is as follows. Written consent is obtained from the parent/guardian and produced prior to or on the day of vaccination. All right, that all sounds fair and reasonable, I would say. Goes on to say here, if a child is old enough to adequately understand the benefits and risks of vaccination, yet refuses the vaccination in spite of such an understanding, okay, his or her wishes should be respected, should be or must be respected. You really need to pay attention to the type of language the government uses, because this is how they are able to mislead people. That's right. In brackets it says here, if the parent or guardian has given consent, the parent guardian should be notified as soon as possible of the child's refusal. Okay, so perhaps a young person went and did a bit of research and said, well, hold on a second, I don't think I want this. All right, but here's where it really gets concerning, very concerning in my opinion. Consent without a parent/guardian. Look at this. The law recognizes, okay, so whoever the law is, whoever determined what the law is, who exactly were these people, we don't know, that as children become older and more mature, they are more capable of making their own decisions about a wide range of issues, including decisions about their healthcare and well-being. It goes on to say, the law recognizes that a young person may reach this stage before they are 18 years old. These people are referred to as, quote, mature minors. It goes on to say, there is no specific age when a young person may be deemed a mature minor. Determining whether a young person is a mature minor requires consideration of whether they have sufficient maturity to understand the nature and effect of a decision to be vaccinated. Well, What do you think, ladies and gentlemen, if a certain school happens to be increasingly and incredibly pro-COVID-19 vaccination, don't you think it would be fair to assume that the children of that school would adopt the thoughts and outlook of the teachers? So put your thoughts in the comments what you think about that. It also goes on to say here, a medical practitioner or other health or welfare professional who is considered to have sufficient knowledge. Okay, so who determines who has sufficient knowledge, first of all? Who makes that determination? Of the young person, right? And their history and circumstances can make this assessment based on the factors listed above. In a school setting, the principal of the school may make this assessment. So the principal of the school can sit down with a student and say, yep, well, I had to think about it. I reckon that you're a mature minor, therefore, stuff your parents, do what you want. That's right. You too can participate in what the Federal Health Minister referred to as the world's largest clinical trial. That's completely fine. So, this is incredible, isn't it? The very term mature minor is entirely subjective and based upon the person who has been tasked with making that particular determination. All right, so we're going to go back and have a little bit of a look at what's going on here. So what we've actually seen is a letter here that has been sent out to VCE students in relation to the vaccination process. So I'm going to read you through some of the highlights from the letter. Let me just open it up for you, and I'll show you what the government is saying to people in VCE. And maybe if you are in VCE, you can attest to this, or if you have children who are in VCE. So I'm just going to move this here, get myself out of the way. Alrighty, so what do we have here? We've got important. Right? Apparently it's important. Important government advice for VCE students and 16 years plus students regarding Pfizer vaccinations. And we're going to be talking about Pfizer a fair bit because in Israel, I dare say that Pfizer, I don't know, maybe it's not working out too well for people. Maybe it's that, maybe it's something else. I'm going to leave you to make that determination for yourself. All right, so what does it say here? All right, I'm just going to lean in a bit because the text is a little bit small. There we go. I can read it now. It says, Dear VCE students and Year 10 students over the age of 16 years old, the following advice has just been forwarded to principals for distribution to all students over the age of 16 years. As part of the COVID-19 vaccination rollout, all students aged 16 years and above are now eligible to receive the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine. Goes on to say, the government aims to fully vaccinate all final year students by the time they sit their end of year exams and provide at least one dose for children aged 12 and older by the end of the school year. Final year students are therefore urged to immediately make an appointment to receive a vaccine by following the instruction under the heading, How to Book an Appointment below. All right, so no mention of talk to your parents, see what your parents think about it. No mention about parental consent, just here are the instructions, go ahead and book it because we say that it's the right thing to do. We're the government and the government is always right. Remember Jacinta Ardern, she actually referred to the government as being the single source of truth or the sole source of truth or something to that effect. That's right. The government doesn't want you asking your own questions, especially it seems here if you happen to be in VCE. But I'm going to keep on reading here. It says here, all eligible students are encouraged to make an appointment to receive the vaccination as soon as possible. This is really urgent, so it seems. It goes on to say, we are particularly encouraging final year students to make an early appointment as this will support the safe conduct of the VCE examination late this year. You wouldn't want to compromise your VCE examination, would you? So therefore, listen to the government and go and make an appointment as soon as possible, right? Because we've got exams, right? You don't want to screw that up. Who here can see exactly the methods used? All right, it goes on to say, you'll be supported in every way possible to be vaccinated before the examinations begin. All right, so there's a second part of the letter. I'm going to read that as well. There's just a small little bit that I just wanted to touch on. All right, so what do we have here? We say consent. Remember, we covered consent just a few moments ago regarding the consent without a parent, the so-called designation of who is a mature minor, determined by, no, not the parents of the student, but someone like a principal or a doctor who what? Thinks that he knows the students better than their own parents? Are you absolutely kidding me? I don't think so. I don't think so, ladies and gentlemen. Not on our watch. Listen to this. Students can book their own appointment and consent to vaccination themselves if the health professional assesses them to be a mature minor. All right. You're going to hear this term mature minor over and over again. And I dare say that it's something that we really need to look out for, because if you ask me, this is my opinion and my opinion alone. I interpret this as an undermining handed out by the government to override the parental rights that, in my view, are God-given rights that parents have over their children. All right, so put your thoughts in the comments. Maybe you don't agree. Maybe you're a parent and maybe you say, well, no, it should be up to the principal to make that decision, not me. I just happen to be there at the time of conception. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to keep reading along here. All right, no, we need that there. Okay. All right, so we have a special guest with us today, Andrew Philippopoulos, that's right, from Melbourne, and he is a concerned parent, and he is also an advocate for civil rights, and he was kind enough to take some time to speak to us a little bit earlier today on the MCJ report, because he, just like many parents, are feeling very concerned with this prospect of people that he does not know personally making determinations about who is a mature minor, and the prospect of parental consent being completely stripped from parents. So I'm going to play an interview between Andrew and myself that we held just before. But before I do, I actually have some correspondence that I'm going to show you. You see, Andrew is proactive in the lives of his children. So what did he do when he started feeling concerned that perhaps his parental consent could be taken away? Well, he did the right thing. He sent letters to the school. That's right. He sent extensive letters expressing his concern over the potential removal of his parental rights, expressing concern about the prospect of him not having the final say whether or not his children could have the COVID-19 vaccination. And I have to say, the letter that he received back from the school, in my opinion, can only be described as utterly disgraceful. Now, I've got the letter right here, so I'm going to read you the letter, and we've blacked out details about the school, and that's the way that we're playing it for now, but maybe that will have to change if these schools are unwilling to listen to concerned parents, because ultimately the government should not be taking the role of parents. Can we all agree on that? All right. So we've got the letter right here. All right. So there you go. That's Dear Mr. Philippopoulos. Thank you for your emails dated 16th of August. Okay, so just to remind you, the letter that we're looking at right here is a response to the concerns that Andrew raised with the school in relation to his parental rights potentially being taken away for the purpose of COVID-19 vaccination on young people. And in this instance, of course, Andrew is concerned about his own children. All right, so thank you for your emails dated 16th of August regarding coronavirus 19 vaccination. This was the correspondence sent from the school. I acknowledge that you have concerns about coronavirus vaccinations and that you have advised the college that you do not want your children vaccinated against COVID-19. Right? Fair enough. That should just be a parent's right. It goes on to say, so the school, right, blacked out, is absolutely committed to the safety and well-being of our school community. All right, notice this is when I raised my eyebrows and I said, hold on a second, you're not actually addressing Andrew's concern here. You're talking about some type of notion of safety and well-being, okay, not addressing the concern of having his parental rights stripped. All right, it goes on to say here, we receive regular guidance from our governing authority to ensure that our school practices are aligned with health advice from the Australian and Victorian governments to limit the spread of coronavirus. They are still not addressing Andrew's concern. This letter up to this point is unacceptable. All right, it goes on to say, at the present, the Victorian government's advice is that COVID-19 vaccines are free, safe, and voluntary. The more people who choose to get vaccinated, the greater the protection for those vaccinated and the whole community. The best person to talk to if you have concerns about your health and well-being, your health and being vaccinated against COVID-19 is your doctor. Ignoring the question of Andrew, look at that. He's concerned about his children. He's not concerned about himself. So why is this school trying to give him advice, medical advice for him? It's absolutely ridiculous. All right. It goes on to say, consistent with this advice, COVID-19 vaccinations are not currently mandated in schools, okay, that Victorian schools. I would echo the advice's recommendation about speaking to a doctor or a general practitioner regarding any concerns. Comprehensive information on the COVID-19 vaccines is also available from the Australian government. All right, thanks a lot. Refer us to the Australian government for unbiased advice, right? Because they always tell us both sides of the story and they never tell us anything different, right? Goes on to say, the school will keep the school community up to date should the advice on vaccinations from the Australian or Victorian government change. I thank you for your support over the last 18 months and we worked through this, blah, blah, blah. Yours sincerely from the school. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, what do we know from that letter? What do we know? We know that the school was unwilling to confirm nor deny whether or not they will vaccinate against the children against the wishes of the parents. Okay, and on top of that, Andrew even followed up. He followed up with further letters. He's been completely ignored, and we are putting schools on notice that they have no right to undermine the rights of parents. So I've got an interview with Andrew. It goes for about 5 minutes. If you're a parent at home and if you've got kids in school, both primary and secondary, please pay attention. This is really important. All right, we've got Andrew on the line with us. Andrew, welcome to MCJ Report. Now, we've had a look at the correspondence from the school. You were shocked to receive this particular correspondence. Mate, could you please just tell us a little bit about it?
Sure, Morgan. Thanks for having me on. And I just want to say I enjoy your show, and it's people like you that means the fight can continue. Now, Morgan, my two children go to a Catholic school in the northern suburbs of Melbourne. One is in primary school and the other is in high school. Due to the ongoing media repertoire happening recently, I thought I would be a little bit proactive. I sent the school about 10 days ago an email in regards to my concerns for this jab. The pros and benefits, and basically asked the school to look and consider this, and that at the end of the day, as their parent and legal guardian, I'm not comfortable with the jab, and the school has no consent. Now, Morgan, I was very surprised and shocked at the response that I received from the school, a response which was very generic, a response which was out of character, and what I mean by that is the school normally responds within 24 hours to have permission to have them on advertising boards. The school will respond if I say to them, for example, only mummy and daddy can pick you up from school, no strangers can pick you up, so that it doesn't get to that. But the response I got was very concerning. And further to that, the correspondence that I sent the school after that has got my alarm bells ringing.
Well, absolutely, Andrew, and I think there are parents all over the country and around the world that most definitely share your concerns. Now, the statements we've received from the health department here in Victoria are strongly suggesting that the government is planning for people under the age of 18 to give consent themselves. Now, up until this point, when it came to vaccinations at school, consent was required by a legal guardian or parent. And it looks like the government is seeking to flip that policy on its head, specifically for the COVID vaccine. What do you reckon about that?
It's very concerning, Morgan, because not only are they dropping the age gap, but like I said, my youngest one is 7. I've got a 7 and a 14-year-old. So they're not making any reference point to parental consent. They're not acknowledging that I'm giving them non-consent. And forget the moral and ethical argument here. That's already gone out the window. But it looks like our legal parameters are starting to get overlooked, because to me, it's either the law applies or it doesn't. I'm a little bit confused here.
Well, absolutely. My interpretation of this situation is that the policy of the government is, by one way or another, undermining the rights of parents. And that's something we really haven't seen at this level before, Andrew. So I'd like to get your thoughts. Where do you think this is all heading in terms of parents' rights?
Very concerning, Morgan. It's concerning because the narrative used in the media, the messaging that's being used, the examples that we've seen already out of New South Wales, it's worrying. I personally have seen this coming for a while. It's one of those worries where I hoped it wouldn't come. Like it's like a bad dream come true. But the narrative that's already being used here in Victoria and the response that I got is very concerning. It's not acknowledging what I'm saying to the school as a parent, as a guardian. It's not acknowledging my non-consent, and they're also not responding and just referring to, well, whatever the government advice is or whatever the TGA advice is. So whatever advice or messaging the school is going to receive, it looks like they're going to go down that mandate.
Andrew, this is all really concerning what you're saying, and you've actually followed up since this response. Talk to us about what happened.
Yeah, Morgan, the interesting part is here is that with the 2 letters that I've sent, with the emails confirming and cementing my concern about the kids not being touched at school, I find it worrying that the school has not responded and accepted my notice of non-consent. I find that very worrying because they are choosing the silent path and not responding to my notice at all.
It's absolutely disgraceful, Andrew. Now, before we wrap it up today, was there any advice or message you'd like to give to other parents who might be concerned right now?
I would encourage parents, if they are concerned, to treat this matter seriously, to voice their concerns with the schools, to start correspondence, if they wish, of non-consent, to see what the school replies with. In my case, the example I have experienced, I hope no other parent does, but based on tone, language, and the media, I think we have a battle on our hands.
Andrew, thank you so much for speaking out. You are showing parents all across the country and around the world that they don't have to sit in silence. They do have rights, and we're not going to sit back and allow the government to trample over these God-given rights. Andrew, you're an absolute legend. Thank you for taking the time to speak to us today.
Thank you, Morgan.
All right, Andrew, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for having the courage to put the word out there. I know that so many parents are experiencing the same concerns as Andrew right now, and ladies and gentlemen, you can certainly expect to see more of Andrew on MCJ Report. Now, the message from the video is that if you're a parent and if you're concerned, a good thing to do right now is to put your concerns in writing and to address the school, address the principal in relation to your desire to not relinquish your parental rights. Okay, and we're going to have a lot more to say about this, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. But if we need to actually come down a bit harder on certain schools that are doing the wrong thing by children and their parents, then what can I say? We're willing to go all the way. All right, anyway, let's keep this moving along, shall we, ladies and gentlemen? What are my final thoughts? Okay, so my final thoughts for this segment, and this will be a new little thing we do on the MCJ Report. Now, a little disclaimer, these are my thoughts, these are my opinions alone. I'm not by any way, shape or form declaring my opinion to equate to fact. Simply, this is how I see things. Maybe you agree with me, maybe you don't. Feel free to put your thoughts in the comments, because life would be boring if we all agreed with each other all the time. Is that fair enough? That would be not so much of a good world. Anyway, final thoughts. By creating the term mature minor, the government is undermining parents' rights under the guise of youth empowerment. 2. The basis for determining who is a mature minor is subjective and open to exploitation. 3. Potential for conflict of interest. Those who determine who is a mature minor are likely to be people who are in favour of COVID-19 vaccination for kids. 4. It is unreasonable and an abuse of power that the government is seeking to override the authority of parents. 5. What other parental rights will the government come for next? 6. Would the percentage of young people seeking to be jabbed be different if schools allowed COVID-19 vaccine debate from non-government experts? Okay, so those are my thoughts, and there's also a few questions in there for you to potentially answer at home. But for now, you've got your thoughts, so put your thoughts in the comments.